Coming up in episode 53, learn from my mistakes, people. And I'm hoping that when this happens to you, and notice that I didn't say if, I said when this happens to you, that it doesn't quite unsettle you in the same way. Welcome to another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Juan, Alanis, and Anjelica Cazares, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. This week, I'm forcing you to commiserate with me about my recent small catastrophe, or not so small, depending on your point of view. My computer died. And Anjelica talks a little bit about back to school and the process of getting her now teenage son ready to go back to school and what it was like over the summer. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes and Stitcher channels are available at thelittlерadioshow.com. The Little Radio Show is brought to you in partnership with juanofwords.com and HispanicHouston.com. Recently, I went through what I'm going to dub a first world catastrophe. My computer died. And I am talking about it would not turn on. I couldn't get to it at all. My computer was just dead. For most people, their computer dying is an inconvenience or a mild catastrophe. You know, you don't have access to your computer, the files on there, hopefully you've got them backed up, etc., etc. I run a business off my computer, my entire life off this computer. And even though I've got mobile devices and other stuff, my computer dying was a major catastrophe for me. And Juan and Anjelica were there to see me like in the days after when literally I was so incredibly frazzled. So let's talk about the Thursday night the computer died. The Thursday night computer died, and I'm trying to get it to see if, and by night I mean 10 o'clock, I went to go turn it on after I'd been working on it on and off all day with, I'm not going to say no problem. I started to see some problems mid-afternoon, but nothing that like set off any alarms.
Okay.
This is a 4-year-old laptop that I use all day, every day. So yeah, I probably killed it. I understand that part. The computer died. And so the next day, this is before I could do anything. This is what I had to do. I had to contact and I'm going to call her a coworker. I had to contact a coworker from an agency where I collaborate to see if she could cover some social media accounts that we managed together that morning. I had to contact the owner of the social media accounts to let him know that the tasks and deadlines for that day were not going to be met because I didn't have my computer and I didn't have access to those particular files. I had to let this radio station know that week's show wasn't going to be delivered on time because my computer was holding my files hostage. I had to let the people know, all the people who I had a meeting with on that day know that any contribution I had to the meetings and all of it was not going to be produced, and all of the files that I needed for these meetings I wasn't going to be able to get my hands on because my computer was holding them hostage.
Now, did you have to do that via phone call? Or did you do,
I did this via email, thank goodness. I mean, I still had...
On your phone?
On my phone, on an iPad. I still had all of the stuff. It's not like I was back to the Stone Ages.
Right.
Okay. And then my brother let me borrow a desktop of his. But of course, I had to connect it to the wireless network. So the first thing I had to do that morning was go and buy a wireless adapter for this desktop so that I could connect it to the wireless network. And then spend the morning setting it up and making sure that I could get my files on there and etc. so that by mid-afternoon I had access to a computer and most of my files and etc. Not all of my software. It's not like, oh my goodness, you can't. I couldn't do any work.
Right.
By the next day, someone had lent me a laptop. And then I had to decide what I was going to do. And of course, I still don't know what happened to the laptop. I'm still trying to figure that out. But in the meantime, I had to figure something out. And so I bought a desktop. I bought a desktop. I ordered it. Got a decent deal on it. Gonna arrive by Tuesday, right? Okay. And in the meantime, no computer. No computer of mine. I understand that for most people, this would be, again, a minor inconvenience. I felt like somebody had pulled the rug out from under me. There are not a lot of things about which my mild OCD tendencies come out. But when it comes to the way my computer is set up, that is one of those things where I have to have, I like my files filed in a certain way. I like my software done in a certain way. I have to have my dual screen, because if not, I feel like I'm not being productive. I didn't have Photoshop. I didn't have the right version of Word. Just that. And then, of course, I couldn't really change the resolution on the computer because it wasn't the right settings, and or the laptop, because they weren't mine, and I really couldn't make modifications to it. And it was just the worst feeling. The good news is, of course, I didn't lose any of my files. Having had this happen before, I learned my lesson. I am the worst case scenario of somebody who hoards versions of files all over the place, because I lost a computer, I don't know, more than 10 years ago. I lost several years worth of files. I didn't have them backed up. Back then, quote unquote back then, you really didn't know. I mean, I really didn't know that was something I was supposed to be doing.
Backing up your stuff?
Backing up my stuff in case a computer died.
I used to back up things a lot on zip drives.
Yes, so did I.
So it was a lot of hard stuff that would take, but I never backed it up on the way you do.
Yeah.
Now, is other software or other applications or other places.
So I have a what I call a major backup that's up on Amazon. Once a month, I upload new stuff that I can't live without to the Amazon cloud. This includes images. It includes things I've archived off my computer because I can't keep them on there. Even just editing this show takes gig upon gig upon gig every episode, and photo files and video files and etc. And there's only so much room you've got on the computer on your desk. I have a Dropbox account where I have a lot of active files. But I also have an external hard drive that I use, and I back up pretty much every day. So almost the last thing that I do before I, get up to go anywhere or finish a project or whatever is I run a very quick backup. It backs up and it updates all the files on my hard drive, and I put it in my bag and I take it with me. And it's just the way that my mind works. So I didn't lose any files. But it struck me. A couple of things struck me about this particular experience. One is that having your computer die is, in fact, a catastrophe for me. So I run my business. And while I had a lot of people who just didn't seem to get how this was a big deal. Well, you're just going to buy another one. You can expense it to your business. And I'm like, yes, but in the meantime, I actually have to make the expense, and even...
Oh, but then the process of actually going and getting everything downloaded and doing all of that stuff.
That's the worst part for me. I got my computer about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was up till 4 a.m. installing all of my software, transferring all of my files, doing everything that I needed to get this new computer up and running the way that I needed it to be so that I could be productive.
Yeah. My computer actually, it started failing on me. And so it wasn't updating. It wasn't updating correctly. And I was like, what in the world? So we went back to the maker. It was Apple, and we went back, and I was like, you know what? I haven't had it that long. So if you go back and you restart it, I am not gonna lose a lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, do it, do it, and I learned quickly. So I went that same day and I bought a terabyte, and I was like, yep,
external hard drive. Yes,
I sure did.
Yes, I have. There's a Microsoft utility called SyncToy that you can set up on a folder by folder basis and tell it how you want it to synchronize. Do you want it to duplicate? Do you want it to be a two-way sync? This is one of those things where it is really, really a very useful utility. I got it, the Lifehacker or somewhere recommended it, and I went and I looked at it, and the fact that it was made by Windows, by Microsoft helped me to use it. But So things that I have learned from this entire process is, one, I am worthless without my computer, apparently. And I don't mean, yes, before all of you go, oh no, you can't use language like that. I don't mean it literally, but I do mean that I can't do my job. I can't do my work without all the right tools.
You depend very
I
heavily.
depend very heavily on my tools.
You do. And you see, someone like me doesn't. I don't. Well, I do on my tools, but you use a lot more applications than I think me and Juan combined. Well, no, because I go to his computer and I'm like, what in the world? He was downloading something and it was taking forever.
The fact that I didn't have Photoshop, I had to put a bunch of stuff on hold. I open Photoshop almost every day.
Yeah.
And I open Photoshop almost every day. Photoshop almost every day, and Adobe Acrobat Pro pretty much a couple times a week.
Yeah, you see, I don't. That's not the way I utilize. And so where I depend a lot upon is my phone. So
if your phone dies,
if my phone dies, if it's lost, it cracked, and I just lost it. Because that means it can possibly glitch, like some of the things that I'm doing, and that throws off all sorts of things. I might not get the setting of the pictures of the lighting correctly because of my screen, and so for me, like, unlike you, it's my actual phone, and it's not even because to make phone calls or to get texts. It's because that's the way I do what I do.
And for me, I actually do most of my heavy work in front of a computer. And the fact I like sitting down right now, my current computer is not set up with dual screen, and that's annoying me a little, but not as much, because I do have all of my software and I've got access to all of my files. Like this week, I was able to sit down and actually edit the show for next week with no problem. So I had all my stuff in there and all the plugins and the extra little things that make Audacity work with all the files that we need for it to work. And I'm like, why is this not reading the open soundtrack? Because the open soundtrack was not in an MP3. I never converted it. I never had to. I just pull it into Audacity because I had the right plugin installed that would read it and do the conversion for me, no problem. Little things like that
make a difference. Yeah,
make a difference completely. So things that I learned. One is that as a business owner, I have to treat my computer differently than as a computer enthusiast. I actually have to develop a better plan B and a crisis plan for what I'm going to do the next time this happens. Notice how I didn't say if this happens again. What I'm saying is the next time this happens, I need to have a plan in place. I have a friend who is an architect. She literally has a backup laptop with all of her software, all of her current software installed in her closet, that if her laptop that she is working on right now, which also updates all of her files to a cloud, dies, she just takes that other laptop out and starts working on it while her primary machine gets fixed.
And that's a good idea.
It's a good idea. It's a little bit expensive, but she's been on her own for quite a while, and it saved her butt many times. And I'm actually thinking that I'm going to have to think about doing something like this. Maybe I bought a desktop this time because I wanted the extra power and the extra memory, but maybe my backup should be a laptop that I only use occasionally or, whatever. Because, again, this will happen again. I am self-employed. I run a business off this computer.
Well, that's the thing. We have the option, like when our car breaks down, we know we can go rent a car, and that's very quickly, or somebody,
It's not the same thing.
What? Yeah. I mean, something like it's easier. It seems for when other things break down, it's easier to quickly replace that as opposed to something that's very geared towards you. You know what I mean? And so, so it makes sense. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, so when I upgrade my phone, I'm going to fix the screen on this one. This one has the applications that I use and set it aside so when I need it, when my other phone breaks down. That's a good idea.
So the other thing that I learned, these are the things I actually had done well that other people might want to consider doing things, is I had all of the registration keys and licenses for all my software. So I was able to reinstall all of it, and I had all of my registration keys, and I didn't lose a beat with those. When I'm talking about Microsoft Office, Adobe Creative Suite, Camtasia, there's a bunch of stuff. This is paid software that, thank goodness, I had kept all of my files in a place where I could just pull them out and take the registration keys and install reinstall everything with no problem. I've heard from a lot of people that this is one of those things, they buy it and 3 years later they're trying to reinstall the software. And yes, it doesn't work because they can't find it. They have to repurchase it. And these are not cheap purchases. All of my files were backed up. I didn't lose a single day of work created. I lost productivity. Actually, I ended up being somewhere in the area of about a week behind on work, because weekends for me are just work days like any other day.
Yeah.
So for me, being down for 5 days was being down for 5 days. Yeah. And even with a borrowed laptop, there was only so much that I could do. And yes. Oh, a laptop's a laptop. It's not. A laptop is not a laptop. I wasn't going to install the editing software on borrowed computers. I wasn't going to install Adobe on borrowed computers. I wasn't going to install Camtasia on borrowed computers. There was a bunch of stuff that I just could not get to. Like, I could triage the important stuff and let people know when some of these other things were going to be done, and handle lower level things, email and, editing and other stuff like that. But the really big projects all required these special tools. So that was number 2, is make sure that you have all of your files backed up. And I am talking backed up in a secure place, because God forbid, if there's an electrical whatever, and you've got an external hard drive connected to your computer, your external hard drive is going to go with the computer. Or if there's a fire, your external hard drive is going to go with your computer.
I consider that too. And so my external hard drive only sits close to my thing only when I'm only when I'm pulling things into it. So it doesn't stay connected to my computer. And I knew that because I learned my lesson before in the past, when so there was, thunderstorm, and all of a sudden everything blinks off and on. That means a couple of light bulbs went out and stuff like that. You can almost guarantee something happened to your computer if you don't have that. That there's a thing that you plug in and it
and if you're
from happening.
So the last thing that I learned, and this is specifically for the people who are self-employed, solopreneurs, freelancers, small business people who are, running their own businesses, have a contingency fund. You're going to need, how Dave Ramsey keeps saying you need $1,000 or whatever for your personal emergency fund? I'm going to tell people out there that one of the things I just learned is you need an emergency fund for your business for these kinds of expenses. So, all in all, once I get the new monitor, which I didn't have to buy, but I'm buying the new monitor and some other stuff that I needed because of the change from a laptop to a desktop, I'm going to end up spending about $1,500. And that's an expense I didn't have planned. The good news is I did have the money, but it wasn't planned, and I didn't have an emergency fund. So, there you have it. Those are learn from my mistakes, people. And I'm hoping that when this happens to you, and notice that I didn't say if, I said when this happens to you, that it doesn't quite unsettle you in the same way. If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Little Radio Show, where we're bringing you small talk about big topics. I'm your host, Anjelica Cazares, and I want to invite you to visit our iTunes channel to leave us a rating and a review. It's a really great way to show us your supports, and we really appreciate the love. Find the link on our iTunes channel at thelittleradioshow.com. All right. Guess what, boys and girls? It's back to school and parents are celebrating. So, as all you know, when August comes around, you know that all of you are actually getting prepared to go back to school. And although we had lots and lots of fun during the summer for my family, which is me, Juan, and Boy, we are actually very much looking forward to back to school. It was a process, actually. It was a process to get all the stuff going, to get the supplies, to get the uniforms, because what is it now? 80% of schools require a uniform.
Wow, I didn't know.
It's crazy out there. It took us an hour to get, because their shirts you have to get them special from a special store because they're special, evidently, right? Let me guess,
they're special?
They're special. But it took us an hour to order 2 shirts. And it just took us like about a good 5 minutes in front of the girl, but it took us an hour. We sat there with a bunch of parents just like us who kind of delayed doing this. And I regret it. I very much regret it. So when they say the school uniforms are ready to be purchased, I'm going to be one of the first ones in line getting the shirt because I refuse to maintain an hour inside of a store.
So just a quick question. Did you have the same conversation with yourself last year? Last year were you telling you next year I'm going to be better?
No. Last year I was good about it. I was 2 weeks in advance because I knew that they were going to take, and you know what? I didn't even get the shirts didn't even come in time. So they're going to come in a week. So he's using last year's shirts.
Oh no.
So yeah, it was a long process. Not only that, the school buying process is also, tell me, why do they need, and I never understood this, Lysol, right? So,
I heard about this. They're really asking people to bring in Lysol and stuff like that.
They are. That's part of the school list and preparation.
They want Ziploc bags too. I don't know why.
Ziplocs,
I don't understand.
I can understand. I can understand Ziploc bags because of crayons and markers, loose things in the classroom.
I never had to bring Ziploc bags or napkins or anything like that when I was in school.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if we don't purchase it, the teacher has to purchase it. And it's an extra expense on the teacher when we already know they don't get paid sufficient or not enough.
I know, but shouldn't the school be providing something as basic as napkins and Ziploc bags?
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I have a sister who's a principal. I have my sister-in-law who is a teacher. My other sister used to be a teacher. Between them, they've got something like six either cousins, in-laws, or immediate relatives that are teachers, counselors, principals, and work in school administration. So school teachers and education, kind of my family business. The first year that my sister was a teacher, she spent so much money setting up her room, so much money out of her own pocket, and then she would feel bad for the kids that went to school without all of their supplies, so she would buy supplies for them as well. And she did this for a couple of years. It's so bad that Office Depot, I think, used to run a commercial about how they give teachers a discount for the first the month of August. They would run a commercial about new teachers and how much money, and the poor husband who kept watching the wife pay money out. You don't know how much money teachers end up spending of their own money to set up their room, and then every year for back to school.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Yeah. It's sad though, because there's all this stuff about, teachers don't do anything and they don't get, they get paid too much money. I don't see anybody who has a teacher in their family knows they don't get paid too much money. And then
they don't get paid enough.
They don't get paid enough. No. and so, yeah. But Lysol, really?
Lysol. So Lysol can. Doesn't it sound like we're buying supplies?
Yes.
At this point, supplies for the school.
Yes.
Because I don't think he's going to actually use Lysol in the classroom to do an assignment. I don't think that's the way.
But that's my whole point. I think the Ziploc bags and stuff, I don't mind paying for them. And we can go buy them or whatever. But wouldn't it be cheaper for the school to buy them in bulk from a Costco or a Sam's Club, and they could get for the whole year for every teacher in the classroom? That's just my thing. There's certain things school supplies markers, pencils, paper, notebooks. Yeah, that's school supplies.
I used to think.
Ziploc bags and napkins.
I used to think supplies. Kleenex was too much. Yeah. When I went to school and my mom was Kleenex. ¿Y por qué quieren Kleenex? I was like, I don't know, Mom. We gotta buy it.
I know of a school where the school supply list included toner cartridge.
Oh wow,
toner cartridge.
Yes,
that's a little much.
Oh,
but
wow.
That was part of the supply list. So that was it was very fun running around trying to get this stuff. And then sometimes they're very specific when they say printer paper colored. Yeah, some of these supply stores don't have this stuff. Regular places.
Yeah.
Or they run out of it quickly because that's part of the school supplies. And you're running around like a lunatic looking for printer paper colored. And you end up I'm like, what in the world do they want? Or they want 2 rims of white paper heavy stock, right? And that's $40, $50 for, okay, so it's $23 for every pack of rim. So our school supplies, instead of keeping it used to be that you could buy school supplies for a kid, because when I was younger, $20-$30. And now I'm hitting 100, 120, 150. Yeah. And then not only that, as the school year progresses, they start, the binders fall apart and you're buying more stuff. And it is very costly, but I'm not here to complain. Just a little bit. I'm here to rant just a little bit. So, but I did talk about also the summer in the beginning, and we had a lot of fun this year with him during the summer. Usually it used to be in the past because Juan would work, and as we've mentioned, or we haven't mentioned, now I am, is that we are entrepreneurs, so we actually work from home. We've had a lot of fun with him this year because we've had the chance to actually take him places. So he, like road trips, before in the past, he was actually just kind of watching TV and we would feel bad. And on the weekend we'd be like, all right, let's go to the movies and have dinner. And that was a constant because we weren't going on vacation the way we thought we should or do, or we weren't doing too much with him before in the past. And this year we actually did, and he got fed up and he was like, enough.
Enough.
Yeah, he did. Actually, that was one of his favorite phrases. I want to stay home. And I was like, what are you doing at home that you don't want to come with, But
he's a teenager now.
Well, he is. Yeah. Why did you remind me? All right. So, but he is a teenager. And one of the things that he started picking up on was he started cleaning all on his own. And I was like, yay.
Yeah, so, don't make too big a fuss about it. He's at that age, they startle easily.
He's retract. No, but one of the big things he started doing was cleaning. I was taking a kind to that because I think he now sees that we're actually, not that we didn't in the past, but I think he sees more like movement within us, and he sees what we do day to day, and maybe he's thinking like, I don't know, like maybe he wants to participate more in it, and so he wants to keep up with the household. So that's been interesting.
That's cool. He's got tall, your son did.
I know, you were talking about the other day.
He got tall and his voice is so deep.
You got to tell the story.
Oh, so I'm walking in, it must have been last week or the week before, to the radio station, and I'm not looking up. I'm looking at my phone, and there's this deep voice, hi, Sandra. And I look up startled, and it's the boy, which we can't call the boy for much longer anymore. And I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like, crap. I didn't recognize his voice. He grew up.
So
I remember when he was little, and that was not too long ago.
No, it wasn't. Within the last year or two, he kind of, actually with the last I knew something was going on when I was buying a pair of shoes. Sorry, I'm like yelling in your ears, guys. Sorry. When I was buying a pair of shoes every 2 to 3 months because he kept growing half an inch. And so we were going from 8 to 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5. I'm up to 11 size adult men's shoes. This is getting out of hand. This is getting a little crazy. And he's spurt tall. So we went to the doctor. He's actually 5'6".
Wow.
Yeah, that's... in heels I can combat him, but if I'm very like barefoot, we're not how would they say it in the neighborhood, we're not toe to toe, we're not like face to face. And he makes fun of me. He loves to make fun of me. So when in the past, when he used to like sideswipe me walking by me, now a small nudge actually pushes me like quite far. He tried to play around with me the other day the way he plays with Juan because they like to wrestle. But he tried to play with me and he pushed me and I lost balance. And I was like, excuse me, do you understand you are a big kid and this isn't like you can't do this to mom anymore. You are, yes, I'm being off-centered by this monster that I got living in my house. But it's fun. It's been fun. Not only that, but I think he's getting a lot more, his mind capacity has changed. So as he grows, his mind is becoming a little bit different. So that's been fun. But I think I'll wrap it up here. I'll leave it alone.
Oh, okay. And for all of you out there who are silently or not so silently celebrating your back to school, your kids going back to school, share with us how this will impact your life. Make sure you tag us on Twitter, or you can post on our wall on Facebook. Thanks. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes and our Stitcher channels and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to both channels at thelittleradioshow.com.